March 23rd to order. First item on the agenda would be consider approval of the March 9th minutes. Any changes? Okay, stand as written. Next item on the agenda would be the February financial statement.
This is a report of the financial summaries of revenue and expenditure activities for City of Hayes, month ended February 28, 2017. Revenues in February totaled $2,042,830. That's an increase of $100,797 compared to the same period last year. Some notable areas of increased revenue. Airport Improvement Fund revenues were up $22,000, due in large part to a transfer from the new equipment reserve of $16,700 to reimburse for the city's share of the purchase of snow removal equipment at the airport. Court revenues and public safety were up $12,000 compared to this time last year. And for February, residential and business water consumption were down a combined 5%. However, water revenue was up 7% and conservation charges was off negative 12%. Year to date, total water consumption is down less than 1%, with total water revenue up 10% or $46,000. Year-to-date water reclamation revenue, which would be the old sewer, water reclamation revenue continues up 15% or $66,000. Notable areas of revenue decrease: golf membership, trail fees, and cart shed rentals slowed a bit in February, down $45,000. However, if you recall, we reported last month that January saw a boost in these sales. Therefore, year-to-date, those total revenues are only off about $1,800. Expenditures in February totaled $1,710,416. That's a decrease of $821,000 as compared to the same period last year. Some notable areas of increased expenditure: new equipment for Bickel-Schmidt Sports Complex was up $8,900 for the purchase of a utility vehicle out there. The project's line increased $80,000 in City Commission capital reserve for the approved purchase of the property on West 41st. Outside agency funding from the CVB increased $20,682 due to the timing of the allocations to the Wild West Fest and Hayes Arts Council. Notable areas of decreased expenditure: library and library employee benefit expenditures are down $847,000 as compared to February last year, simply due to the timing of those distributions. As of the writing of this report, we had not received that request. We did contact them. They have some new leadership and reached out to them, and we have paid them their allocations now. Parks and Playground, other contractuals fell $9,700 due to the payments to Fort Hayes for the Larks Park contract and tree removal in Frontier Park. Service Division, general supplies and materials dropped $13,000 as they were purchasing crack seal and concrete material in preparation for 2016 street maintenance projects at this time last year. Chemicals and electricity expenditures for the water fund were off $26,000 as compared to February 16 due to the timing of those. Month-to-date general fund sales tax collections were at $685,301. That's a decrease of $10,833 or a negative 1.56% as compared to last year. Year-to-date general fund collections are at $1,291,973. They're up $7,551 or 0.59 when compared to actuals from a year ago. As was requested last month, City staff has updated the sales tax receipts chart to include the 2016 six-month average to give some historical perspective to that graphic. And as we can see, there is a 3-month positive trend. Although it still is negative, there is a 3-month positive trend in the average percent change. The report of quarter-to-date sales tax collections by industry classification was down $16,934 or negative 0.86. Those top 10 represent 74% of the total quarter-to-date sales tax distribution. And the Finance City Clerk's Office invested $4 million of maturing or renewing certificates of deposit with a weighted average interest rate of 1.03. The portfolio certificates of deposit on February 28th totaled $59.2 million with a weighted average interest rate of 0.8. That's up 0.38 from a year ago. Total balance of the money market on February 28th was $1 million with a current yield of 0.2. Total investments are up $3.3 million when compared to this time last year.
Mr. Chairman, I've moved that we accept the financial report as presented.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Jacobs. Kim, I would ask on that CVB, or you said due to allocation. I mean, that's a budgeted allocation, right?
The
On
library?
No, the CVB, outside agency funding, says timing of the allocation.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Due to the timing of paying them, basically, we paid them at a different time a year ago,
Is there a reason behind
based
that?
on their request.
On their
Once we
request.
get their request is when we
Oh, okay.
pay them. So if it, if it's off a couple of weeks or something, it might throw us into the next month.
Gotcha. Okay. I was just curious, so. Okay. Call for the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. This is 5-0. Citizen comments? Scott? Seeing none. Consent agenda, nothing. Next item would be the building code update.
Rick Sun, Public Works Director. Once again, I'm going to turn this over to Jesse Rohr to present this issue. He is the one that has all of the information. Based on the questions last week, we did make one change to the requirement for the escape windows in basements. And so if you have any questions on that, please ask them of Jesse too.
Good evening. This item is regarding building code updates, and while it is considered somewhat routine, is only typically done every 4 to 8 years, depending on the code changes. City staff, as well as the Building Trades Board, is recommending adoption of the 2015 International Codes and the 2014 National Electric Code. The proposal includes the 2015 International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Fire Code, International Existing Building Code, and the International Property Maintenance Code, as well as the 2014 National Electric Code. Current adopted codes have been in place since 2006. The 2006 codes have been good codes, but it's now time for an update for various reasons that I'll get into in just a bit. Note that both the international codes and the national electric codes publish new codes every 3 years. I mentioned there are various reasons for updating our adopted building codes. First, technology is always changing. Regular and timely code updates provide for safer building construction due to new technology, including studies of building practices, new products, and general advances in the building trades. Updates also provide for adequate training of both inspectors and contractors alike. Under current code, the 2006 I codes and the 2005 NEC, no training is available. Local training has been on the newer codes. Training on the new codes makes them easier to use and understand by staff, contractors, and professional designers. Having a non-current code adopted can negatively impact ISO, or Insurance Services Office ratings, or BSEGs, the Building Code Effectiveness Grading Scale ratings, when not within 2 years of the most current code available. While Hayes does not currently have a BSEGs rating, it is likely, very likely, in the near future. This makes for another reason to stay as up to date as possible and be proactive rather than reactive. So far, staff has spent many months in-house and at trainings learning about the new codes and the changes within the codes. Staff has had several meetings with the Building Trades Board and licensed contractors to discuss the code changes in depth. All the ICC codes are available online to all for free, making it easy for anyone to access the codes, to review them at any time and at no cost to them. Last month, on February 27th, by a unanimous vote of 5-0, the Trades Board did recommend to the City Commission to move forward with the updates of the various codes. If approved, the updates will take effect July 1st, 2017, giving contractors, staff, building supply houses, and professional designers plenty of lead time to adjust to any coming changes for any upcoming projects. Minor amendments to the codes were made in some cases, as you'll see within the ordinance that you're looking at tonight, to carry over past amendments, keeping practices the same and staying consistent with other city ordinances. I've basically presented three options for the City Commission tonight. One, approve the changes as proposed and recommended by staff and the Building Trades Board. Two, do not update the building codes as recommended. Or three, provide staff and the Building Trades Board alternative direction for alternatives. Staff, as well as the Building Trades Board, recommends adopting the 2015 IBC, IRC, IFC, IEBC, and IPMC, as well as the 2014 NEC, with the amendments as noted in the adoption ordinances, all to become effective July 1st, 2017. And with that, I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Jesse, would you explain the changes for the egress windows that was mentioned?
Yeah, what we did, based on the discussion last month, there was concern about some maybe subjective language in the ordinance that maybe didn't make it real clear as to when an egress window would or wouldn't be required. So what we did, we looked at the code and we found other sections of the code and tried to mirror their language. What it says now is that egress windows will be required when a permit's pulled for changes within habitable space within a basement. Habitable spaces are defined as sleeping rooms, living rooms, or rooms for eating and cooking. So bathrooms, laundry rooms, mechanical rooms, hallways, all those are not included as habitable space. So if anyone were to pull a permit, say to remodel a bathroom in their basement, add a bathroom, do work in a mechanical room, add a laundry room, none of that would require the egress window to be installed at that time. However, if they're putting in, if they're gutting a basement fully and redoing the basement, if they're putting in bedrooms where there weren't bedrooms before, significant alterations, which again would require a permit within the living space of the basement, it would require an egress window per the code. There's exceptions written into the ordinance. Any electrical, plumbing, mechanical upgrades or repairs, that sort of thing, would not require the egress window changes. We checked also see what other cities are doing. I found one other city in Kansas, and that's Lawrence, that has adopted the 2015 code and amended the same section. However, they took it about 10 steps further than we are looking to do. They require egress windows in every basement, whether there's a permit pulled or not. So basically, it's how we treat smoke detectors. We have ordinances and codes that say every home has to have a smoke detector. And it's enforced on if we're in a house for a permit, if it's a renter, when we're asked to go look at a place, that's what they do for egress windows. So we're not looking to go nearly that far. That's very aggressive. And I might add as well that I meant to pull the numbers and I forgot, but last year I think we did more egress window permits than probably the previous 3 or 4 years combined, all on a voluntary basis. We've not had issues with getting egress windows put in. It seems like a lot of landlords are seeing the value of them. A lot of tenants are starting to they're becoming wise to the need for egress windows, and they're starting to look for those sort of things. And I know we had a couple landlords come in, property owners who have several rentals, and pull several permits for an egress window in many of their rentals that they have. So they're becoming common. Like I say, we're not looking at change in practice that we've been enforcing for the last 8 or 10 years, but just now having the language in here that helps us enforce it if necessary. And to this point, it has never been a battle. It's never really been an issue, but the language is there if we need it.
Comment?
What's in the code currently that this has to be amended into our ordinance?
The current, the way the 2015 is read, I don't have a word for word, but it does not require an egress window unless there's a new sleeping room being put in a basement. That's the only time an egress window would be required in an existing basement. So if someone has a basement, say they have 2 bedrooms in that basement, they could gut the entire basement, redo the whole basement, top to bottom, and not have to put an egress window the way code is structured now. That's not been our practice for the past several years. Basically, our practice has been what we're trying to get in wording in the ordinance tonight.
Was that a part of the previous ordinance? Was that
It's not, actually, this is the first code that has addressed egress windows in existing basements. The 2015 is the first one.
So was that a part of our ordinances in the past then? Is that
No.
how you were enforcing it?
No, it hasn't been, and it's, like I say, it's been voluntary. We've not had to, as I say enforce, but we've not had to force it. People come in for basement remodels and such. We tell them about the egress windows, where they're required. They've done it. It's not been we've never been challenged. It's, like I say, I think they see the value of them, not just for the safety features, but anymore they open up basement spaces with light, that sort of thing. So, like I say, we're definitely not looking to create waves. Just continue practice as we've been doing. So.
I want to take what James is saying, or Commissioner Meyer is saying, just a bit farther. I think I guess where I'm confused is you said that you've mentioned last week and this week that this is the way you've been doing business for years, yet there hasn't been any ordinances in place, or it's not required by code. So what leg did you guys have to stand on to do business that way prior to this ordinance?
Right. We didn't have to. There's a lot of code. There's a lot of things contractors do above and beyond the code. That's one of them. Contractors for years have gone way above and beyond the R value required in walls and basements, for example, for insulation. It's never been part of code. There are some minimums now in the code. They're above and beyond the minimums. Window ratings is another one where contractors supply houses. They've commonly been above the minimum code. Egress windows are the same way. Like I said, we've not had to force it.
I think what
Mr.
Commissioner,
Rohr, you have not forced anyone to put an egress window in, have you?
No, we have not. We
In-
have not
in
had the
existing
language to do it.
remodel.
Right.
Thank you.
right, and I think what Commissioner Meyer and Commissioner Jones were trying to get at is your feedback on people with egress windows was suggestion, not based on code. You should do it because of the code. It was, you should do it because of these reasons here. Is that what you were trying to get at?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right, because I watching, I think we could get the impression that you're wanting to continue a practice that's in the existing code. Like last week, we talked about the exemptions for fences and some other stuff, which is, we've exempted out of the previous codes for that too, but that's not what this is. We're just saying, we would like this exemption from the 2015 code to continue a practice.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
But that's not how I'm interpreting this. I'm interpreting this that this is above and beyond what was already in the code, because you just said that you could gut the whole thing and to put 2 bathrooms back and not be required to put in an egress window, but with the exemption here, they would be required to put in an egress window, so.
Yeah, it is above.
Right, in the
and
15
So
code,
it's above
exactly
and
right.
beyond,
Yeah.
It's
right?
above and beyond what's in the code that we don't yet have adopted, the 2015 code.
Right, you're correct in that. It's above and beyond that. It's just not, it's not a continuation of what we've been doing with the previous code, like the fences and some other stuff that we talked about last week. But it is above and beyond what the code requires.
And most of the contractors are doing it without even telling them.
Right, we've not had an issue with it whatsoever, whether it's contractor or homeowners that pull their own permits and do their own remodels.
I do like the verbiage a lot better. It still doesn't really say that what substantial is or what you would need a permit for, but I'm sure that's probably in the code.
Right, well, we don't use the word substantial in the code at all anymore. It's out of there completely. We took that out. We also took out the word repair. Basically, and I can read the sentence here. It says, where alterations, improvements, or renovations requiring a permit occur in habitable spaces within existing basements, or where one or more sleeping rooms are added or created in existing basements, an egress window shall be required to be installed in accordance with section R310.1. And then the last statement there, installation alteration, or repairs of plumbing or mechanical systems are exempt from the requirements of this section.
Okay.
The word substantial, as you mentioned last week, it's subjective. That there was no definition in code of substantial, so we purposely wrote it to take that word out completely.
Can you explain, there's also an exemption in there as far as needing a permit if you're repairing or replacing sidewalk or driveway that's in the right-of-way, but I'm assuming that means that if it's not in right-of-way, you don't have to get a permit?
That's
What's-
correct.
So
And
what's
that's-
the reasoning behind that?
For the last 8 or 10 years, we've, any sidewalk, which is typically in
So
public
that's-
right-of-way.
So that's a continuation of an exception that was already there, is that correct?
Right, right.
And what
Flat
was-
work, if you do a patio in your backyard, or if you do sidewalk off your front porch within your front yard, for that type of non-structural concrete work, there's no permit required. If you do your driveway, anything but the approach and the curb cut itself, the curb cut, if you do that portion, would require the permit. Anything from there to your house would not.
So what's the reasoning behind that?
For requiring it for those portions or for not requiring, we want to, the sidewalks are big as far as ADA regulations. When they're put in, we check them for ADA, make sure they meet ADA slopes, things like that. If someone's doing a curb entrance, we check it since that's within the public right-of-way and is actually a portion that's owned by the city. We check the depth on the curb, make sure slopes on the curb, make sure support, there is a city standard on both curb and sidewalk.
Okay.
A lot of times I'll be replacing the trough line too on the rollback sidewalks. So we gotta make sure that all marries up.
It's mother calling for dinner. Now a motion on the floor, which concerns me.
These are presented individually. The city attorney said you could approve them as individual ordinances, or you could approve them in one motion. It's completely up to the commission.
Well, I'm going to say what I think others are feeling, and I could be wrong. I'm probably not going to vote for this tonight, and here's why. Others have had 2 years to look at it. We've had a week. And when we asked what the changes were, they're big. There's a lot of binders here. Okay, so if we have the inevitable conversation in a grocery store or at Home Depot or Heartland Building Center with a contractor about why did you guys pass this, I'll have no idea what I passed. And so I'm going to vote no tonight. So that's why I'm not making an amendment and sitting on my hands, because I would like to know what is in the code. Does it include the new outlets? The outlets that have little things that you have to have, the polarized that pushes the thing? I want to know. And if a group took 18 to 24 months to look at this, I want more than 7 days. And we've been involved not only in the process of the green code and all that other stuff, we've been led along the whole way. This one just dumped on us. It's not your fault. I don't know where the fault goes, but I'm not going to vote on it because I don't know what's in it, and so I can't defend it or not defend it. And so we can't really have a discussion about it. We're just nibbling around the edges here. So, I'm going to vote no.
I feel the same way because I'm not a part of the building trades industry. I don't know what I don't even know what IRC or IFC stands for. Well, I do now because of reading this small portion. But you've got binders and you didn't even present to us significant changes within this. You just said we want to go from the old code to the new code with no explanation of why. I think, if these are safer building practices, why are they safer? Why is this better to go with 2015? Why did 2009 stink so bad that we did not want to go to it? And 2012, we were on the way to this, but then 15 came out. So, I mean, I'm confused by all of it and just the way it goes. I would, at a minimum, there's no way that we can all read all of the codes, but we could at least get an explanation of what the significant changes are, I would think, for each one of these.
I have the same concerns. I I noticed that in the presentation tonight that there was a new acronym that I've never heard of before that went along with the fire rating. And I'm assuming that, and it was tied to us passing this, and if we don't pass it, then this rating's gonna go up, and that's gonna be bad. And I'm assuming that that was put in there as a reason for us to vote for this, but it wasn't in there during the work session. I don't know what the acronym stands for. I don't know what it means. I don't know what bad happens if we don't pass this tonight. It sounds to me like people see the value in egress windows when we redo our bathroom, or our basement. I'll put in egress windows, probably a lot of them, because it's safer. I see the value in it. I don't know that the government needs to come along and tell me to do that. I can make that decision on my own.
I think that's my stance with the egress windows too, is I don't think we need to make it above and beyond if people are voluntarily doing it anyways. And you're talking about contractors and people, homeowners that are coming in to do their remodel, but there are some lower income families that would probably redo their basement or redo a bedroom that they can't do it now because they don't have, I know how expensive it is to do egress windows, and you're cutting into a foundation. So you have two options. If you want to save a lot of money doing egress windows, you do it yourself. And as a homeowner, I'm not cutting into my foundation myself. And so if I have to have a permit and now it's going to require me to put in an egress window, you're requiring me to do about 2 hours of research of YouTube videos, a rental of a concrete saw, and I'm probably going to start hacking at it. I know you're going to go in there and inspect it when it's done because I had to get a permit for it. But what if I didn't cut it right? I mean, looking at it from lower income people that can't afford to get a contractor to do it, I just don't think we need to force people to do it if they're doing it voluntarily already anyways.
And I understand that the Buildings Trade Board has looked at this, and I appreciate that, but they're all in the trade, and they're looking at it from that perspective. They're looking at it from the perspective of how does this affect my business and how does this affect my bottom line. They're not looking at this from the perspective of I'm a homeowner and how does this affect me. And that's my concern with it. Nobody has looked at this from the homeowner's perspective.
You know, I don't know, I don't know where to start here, but I kind of agree with you guys to a point, but I also think the Building Trade Board is people that do this for a living. And I personally think I could look at this 10 times and I wouldn't know half of what they know, because they do it every day. It'd be like you come to Coca-Cola and tell me how to sell Coke. I do it every day, you don't. And I respect these people, I respect, you know, the positions they have, and I think they really, yes, they're looking at their bottom line, but they're also families that live in town, they're business owners, that why would they want to build something unsafe for people in our community? I just struggle with that.
I think that what is important to recognize is that they're not. We just got told that almost all of the new construction is already according to the 2012 code, which we haven't adopted, because that's what people are getting trained on, because 2006 training isn't available anymore. We've already been told that every single time somebody comes in for a permit, nobody has turned away egress windows. So safety is already there without us doing anything.
I also want to make it very clear, in my explanation, I'm not criticizing the professionals who've done a great job
Right.
for the Building Trades Board. My concern is, if I vote on something that I don't know what it contains, I'm going to have to be accountable for that.
Right.
I've not done my due diligence. And so there is a liability there, not only when I talk to people who have encountered this in the real world, homeowners, contractors, and so forth, but also from a personal standpoint. I'm not comfortable voting. It's not Jesse's fault, it's no one's fault. It's just that we should know more about it. Somehow we do know more about the changes to the traffic laws that happen. And now they're much more simple. This is a much bigger thing, but we get to learn all those wonderful things. We do need to know the highlights. I don't care. I want to know more.
And hopefully I wasn't taken out of context there. That was not a statement of criticism. It's just the people who are appointed to the Building Trades Boards, they're appointed there because they're in that trade. That's what they do for a living. And so that's the perspective that they're going to be looking at it from. That's not a bad thing. They're the ones that are going to have to live by this mostly. So we do need their input. And it's not that I don't appreciate their input, it's just, there are some things in here that I'm reading through that, as a homeowner, I don't know. I just don't know that I agree with it.
I think I understand completely where Commissioner Schwaller's coming from, because that's where I'm coming from. I sat down and really tried to lay the changes side by side and understand, and I probably the best thing you said is I haven't done enough of my own due diligence. I did as much as I could, and I still wasn't totally comfortable with it. I'm not criticizing anybody. I think the trades board, I think everybody does their job. Jesse, I think you do a great job. I didn't do a very good job in this amount of time preparing to vote on this tonight.
So what do we want from city staff to even consider passing this? Because, I mean, I think we could have stacks of paperwork in front of us.
Right, and just, when you talk about significant changes, that's like using the word substantial. It's like, it's very subjective to what's significant to you might be different than what's significant to anyone else there at the table. So, yes, I guess maybe some guidance is what we could bring back to you that would make it,
And I will agree with all four of you guys. I don't know it as well as I probably should, but I have respect for the people that have went through it for the last 2 years. I guess that's kind of what, I'm allowing you guys, and I haven't, and maybe we will after tonight, I haven't been contacted by anybody, who said, oh, please don't pass this. Because generally, if there's something in there, that, we get contacted by almost everybody in town about, hey, please don't pass that. I haven't personally, maybe you guys have.
every licensed contractor with the city Hayes was invited to every single trades board meeting. There were times early on when we went through a lot of the more significant changes. There were maybe a dozen of them there, maybe at the most.
Right.
At our last meeting, when it was adopted on February 27th, we had 3 contractors present in the audience. 2 were local, 1 was from out of town here doing a job. Had nothing more to do that evening.
Do you think that maybe that has something to do with the fact that they're already trained on the new code and have already implemented it, and so they're comfortable with it?
I think it's because they don't have issues with the code. I think they're comfortable with the code, and exactly don't have issues with it. I think that's a big part of it.
Because of the training, because that's the only training that's available to them, or?
I think just their practices. Some of them don't get training, but the practice, like I said, they're doing things out there that are there just weren't changes significant enough to the contractors within the code to rise up about it and protest about it.
I think maybe a joint session with the building trades board, maybe, we sit down at a round table and they explain to us why 2015 is better than 2006. I mean, maybe that's what it would take, but when I say significant changes or things like that within these codes, what I mean is like when the police chief comes in, we redo our traffic ordinance every year. There's a list in his presentation of he doesn't go through every traffic violation, but these are the ones that are gonna primarily affect Hayes and what the way we do business here. Maybe there are no significant changes with this because everybody is doing it that way. I really don't know.
This is really difficult for me because I have no intention of micromanaging anything anybody does. And I think if you spend 18 to 24 months on, and I'll be honest, I came here prepared to vote yes if it came that way. And I would do that today. I'm not prepared to make the motion, but I'd be prepared to vote. I'm not arguing with what Commissioner Jones wants to do or anybody else wants to do, but I think we all need a comfort level that I'm not feeling among the group right now. And I'm not sure how to handle that. I'm not sure I want to sit a round table around the trades board. I don't know if I'm ready to do
I
that.
don't think I want that either.
I was ready to go look at
Maybe too
apartments
bad.
with you, but I'm not about the trade board thing.
I
So
think just
I'm not
maybe
sure.
more time.
Maybe.
I don't know what.
Jesse, what does it do delaying it a month?
Really no impact.
What I would probably.
mean,
Here's what we will do. We will provide you with even more information than we've given you with regard to the codes. Jesse will do a highlight memo for each one,
There you go.
identifying some of the changes. You're gonna get a lot of paper,
Fine.
so if you want it, you can have it, but you're gonna get a lot of paper. Jesse will do a highlight memo. And if you like, we can have Jesse come in and go through each of the 5 codes and delineate all of the changes.
And that could be an optional meeting.
My plan would have been to go talk to you one-on-one, Jesse, and have you explain to me till I had a comfort level, I guess. And I'm not sure I'm ready to read a pile of paper if that's what's coming, because it's going to say exactly what you've told us, basically.
I'm okay with a one-on-one meeting too.
I really am.
However you want to handle it to get a better, I'm fairly confident that the 15 code is better than the 6 code because, I mean, things just get better with time typically, but that comfort level needs to be there.
Why don't you let us send out the Crip Notes version of
That'd be
the
good.
codes
That'd be good.
to start with. And then if you want more information one-on-one, we can go from there.
That's a good idea.
And that's probably what I would do. I'd probably call Jesse and have a one-on-one.
Yeah.
I think that's good, because I mean, when we adopted the Unified Development Code, I mean, that was available online, and, I mean, I don't know if everybody read through it or not, but, I mean, at least it was available, and we had it several months ahead of time, so that we at least had the opportunity to look through it, so.
And as I
it's-
mentioned, these codes are also available online
So maybe
as well.
that's
so
something that we can at least get, is somebody tell us how to at least.
We can
know
send you
where to
links.
go and look
We can send you
if
links
we
to the
wanted
codes.
to.
Sure.
Because these are ordinances that, if they get passed, maybe somebody someday will look back and challenge what we did. I'd feel comfortable if you could have a formal motion to table this.
Sure.
And you can either table it indefinitely, or you could table it to a specific event or time. And it sounds to me like you're saying after staff's had an opportunity to better educate you, give you the cliff notes on it, and you've had a chance to do whatever one-on-one you need to do with staff, then someone can lift it from the table with a motion, and we'll put it on the agenda, in other words.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table the ordinances adopting the 2015 IBC, IRC, IFC, IEBC, and IPMC, and the 2014 NEC with amendments as noted, the adoption ordinances indefinitely.
Second.
Okay, second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Swaller to table the motion, and second by Commissioner Meyer, indefinitely until we get more information. All in favor of the,
So here's the thing, I do love a good one-on-one meeting. There's a reason, though, when there are 3 commissioners present, the public can be 2. I imagine, just like contractors, maybe only 5 people will come to that work session, but it should be done so that all the information is shared with everyone.
I agree.
It's a good
Not
point.
one-on-one.
I agree.
Thank you.
I like personally the links, that we can
Yes.
possibly look at the links at our own leisure. I think that would be a good idea. All in vote, sorry, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Table 5-0.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you. Next item would be progress report. Mr. Jacob Wood.
Mayor and Commissioners, I'm Assistant City Manager Jacob Wood with this month's progress report. And it died. We're going to start out in the Parks Department. Park staff has been working diligently to prepare the parks for the warmer weather. They've been doing safety inspections on all of our playgrounds. This picture here is a picture of guys out at Massey Park putting in some new infill underneath the play equipment. We have finally had the repairs completed at Glassman Ball Field for the windstorm that happened in July. You can see on the left, the bleachers flew into the backstop, and they've now repaired that fence.
Hey, Jacob, is there anything different they're gonna do out there with that, or just kinda, did they build it back the same?
They built it back the same. We don't often have a lot of highlights from the Human Resources Department, but we did have supervisor training for all the supervisors in the city. That supervisor training was put on by Fort Hays State's Management Development Center. We all went out to Fort Hays and had a good day of training there. On to the Public Works Department. You've probably seen crews out doing curb repair. They've done some curb repair on Vine Street in front of the Taco Grande. And they also did a little bit of repair on 27th Street in front of Trio's Tap House. They're actually working on Vine Street again right now. Public Works Department is also working on a retaining wall in Montgomery Ditch. This is just south of 7th Street. This is an area where when we do have a rain event, The sides of the ditch seem to erode away, so we're putting in a retaining wall there to hold that together. Onto the fire department, we had mutual aid for Ness County. We sent a truck and a crew, and actually the crew was made up of Hayes Fire Department firefighters and Ellis County Fire Department firefighters. They went down to Ransom. There was with all the fires in the last couple of weeks, there was a house that caught fire in Ransom. They went down and basically what they did was they stopped the fire from spreading within the community. We had that crew was down there for about 6 hours. We also had mutual aid to Ellis County with the fire in the county in I think it was in northeast Ellis County. We sent out our smaller fire truck that's parked out at the airport. This is really the only fire truck that we have that's capable of handling grass fire type fires. Most of our equipment's made for structure fires, and this is it's the only piece of equipment that we have that's really made to kind of go off-road. So we had that truck was actually out for about 20 hours with 2 crew members. There was a rotating crew. We didn't leave the same guys out for 20 hours, but we did help with that. And then you may have seen fire hydrant inspections going on throughout the community. This is something that we do every year. We have about 1,000 fire hydrants, so we go out and we test them each year to make sure that they're operational. You will see them out doing tests for about the next 2 months. On to the police department, we have a new patrol officer. His name is Ryan Blecka. He comes to us from Norton. He was actually in the Marine Corps for a couple of years. And this is a picture of the day that he was sworn in, and this is his grandfather, who's Bob Blecka. He is the former director of the KBI, so that was kind of cool to have him
Very cool.
down in the area. We had a promotion in the police department. Colin Rowe was promoted to corporal. This is a picture of his promotion ceremony. His wife and daughter pinned his new badge on. And then the Hayes Police Department assisted with the Special Olympics opening ceremonies. It's something that they do every year. They really enjoy being out there with the Special Olympics, and I think the Special Olympics enjoy having them out there as well. I'm going to move along to the CVB, and I'll continue to talk about Special Olympics a little bit. We had a pretty concerted effort by the CVB to help out with Special Olympics this year. They did quite a bit. They actually got over 450 volunteers to help out this year. Last year, they kind of lacked a little bit in volunteers, and that's something CVB said that they would kind of help to pick up on. So they went out and they got 450 volunteers, and the event went off really well. This is a picture of the event. And at the Special Olympics, Bobby Pfeiffer, who works for the CVB, was awarded the Outstanding Volunteer Award from Special Olympics. She is kind of the one that spearheaded the effort to get additional volunteers. And then she also worked with the Adopt a Team program. We had 38 teams of people from the community that helped those Special Olympics teams. They kind of escort them around the community and just show them where things are. So she was recognized by the Special Olympics. That's pretty cool that she was able to get that award. And then the CVB's also been very busy this past month with hospitality. They take care of the hospitality rooms for all of our state sports competitions. We had state wrestling and state basketball, so they were out there helping out. On to the Department of Water Resources. Department of Water Resources brought in somebody from the industry to help with confined space safety training, something that they do on an annual basis. And then we also got a call from Ellis. The city of Ellis had an issue with grease in one of their wet wells, and they don't have the right equipment to help remove that, so we took our sewer vac truck out to the city of Ellis and assisted with that. It's pretty easy for us to do. We have the right equipment, and it was an emergency situation. We don't normally just send our crews out to do normal maintenance type stuff, but this was something they needed immediately, so we sent a crew out. And then I just want to highlight from the water department, we have a new way of rating our water well system, and you'll see if you go to hayesusa.com and click on the water conservation tab, In the bottom left, there will be a new water glass. This shows the current water status. This will be updated weekly, on a weekly basis. So as the summer months come and people want to start watering and doing things outdoors, just keep track of what's going on with the water here in Hayes, and we'll try to keep you updated. And then I just want to highlight, we finally have the Welcome to Hayes sign. It was completed. This was an effort between several departments of the city. The CVB kind of started things out. Then we have the Parks Department and Public Works Department that's taking care of things as well. They're actually putting a fence around one of them this week. It'll be the last thing to keep the cattle away from the sign. So,
Yeah, Jacob, I don't remember, are we lighting those up at night, or is that minutes?
yes.
It'll be solar.
Oh,
And that is all I have for this month's progress report.
thank you. City manager report?
I have nothing.
You got nothing? Jacob?
I just wanted to make a comment about the number of volunteers that we had for the Special Olympics. If you've never been in charge of gathering volunteers for events, it's a huge job, and Bobby deserved every bit of credit she got in her award. But did you say 450, Jacob? Is that how many?
That's correct.
That's just a phenomenal number. I've worked with 200 before, and it takes an unbelievable amount of work. So she really did a great job, and I really want to thank everybody in the community that took part in that and volunteered their time.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Second, Commissioner Jacobs, nothing else?
I also would like to, on the Special Olympics, I got an email today saying, that, how many, I think they had like 1,200 contestants, 400 coaches, plus all the family that was in town. I mean, our hotels were packed, and knowing that we have another hotel coming very soon is good. I talked to one of the guys, they had people in Ellis, I think Waukene had a team, Plainville had a team, Russell, so to say we don't need hotels, I think we need them, and I think it's a good thing that we have this coming. And I had an opportunity to go out there and keep score a little bit on Saturday. It's if you haven't done it, it's an unbelievable thing. I mean, you really don't do a lot, but just being around them, it's a lot of fun. So I enjoyed it. And I think the city did them well. Thank you. We're adjourned. 2:45 here.
Yep.
Do that.
8:40, is that what?